Hi everyone, this is the Recreate Reality podcast with Michael and Teresa. Today, we are talking Survivor US Season 47, Episode 9. For anyone who hasn't watched the show, there are massive spoilers ahead. In today's episode, Sam returns to camp without his Barbie, but will he exert revenge and barbecue the whole tribe? Genevieve plays Inception with her ability to plant ideas within ideas, but will it be a nightmare or dream outcome at voting? Kyle loses immunity, but will the challenge beast finally get slayed at Tribal? If you've missed the episode, you can catch all the action on your local streaming services. Survivor US Season 47, Episode 9, breakdown coming up.
Hello guys.
Hey everyone, hello, we're back.
We're back and we're live and we're doing a video this time.
Yes.
Kind of scary.
It is very scary. This is actually our first time doing a video with a podcast. Well, it's my first time anyway.
I hope we don't make a big mockery of this, but we'll try and get it all done in one take.
We
like
will.
a Tarantino film.
Yeah, and again, this is not going to be perfect, so just be easy on us. We're trying our best.
Be
we'll
kind.
we'll improve along the way.
Good to see you all, and it's good to have you see us. And yes, we're real people. We're not bots or AI.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is what you expected.
Actually,
but
we're real people making this. Yeah.
Let us know.
So, episode 9. Let's get right into it. We come with a bit of a recap of episode 8, I guess, and we get an insight as to how Rachel played her shot in the dark at the last tribal.
Yes, I think in the previous episode of our podcast, I think I've raised the question of why did Rachel play her shot in the dark? And I think she explains this in the latest episode, where it's actually kind of a lure to actually see how everyone else was going to vote at Tribal.
It was genius. It was so smart that I didn't understand it, which exposes me as my inexperience and lack of her gameplay. But I think the way it was edited in episode 8 didn't quite show what she was doing. And it wasn't. I think that's why they re-showed this scene in this episode, because it highlighted how good the gameplay was.
Yeah.
So it actually showed her playing it and then highlighted her looking at the tribe, observing them. Those shots really, spelt out what she was trying to do. And it wasn't really clear in the edit last week. It just seemed like a frantic, desperate move.
Yeah.
But obviously what it was devised to do was to try and gauge a reaction from her tribe to see if there was going to be any flinch or reaction. And if there was any big reaction, hey, I'm playing my idol. They didn't have a reaction, and so she was safe, even though she lost her vote. It was a really clever move.
Yeah,
when you think about it, right?
I know.
It was smart.
I think because
I wish we'd seen it at the time for the great move it was.
Well, to be honest, I didn't even... Because I'm new to US Survivor, I actually forgot about the shot in the dark. So it's not something that I actually even think about when people go to Tribal. I think I was very surprised that she pulled it out. And then I was thinking, okay, well, if she played the shot in the dark, if she was really wary, why didn't she just play her idol? But like you said, it's a very clever move. Now when in hindsight, when you look back at it, you realize how masterful it is. I guess the question I have with this is... if she was just gauging people's reaction, and if she was pretending to take out something, and if she saw that, okay, maybe they didn't seem, not say surprised, or they didn't look horrified, can she then say, well, actually, I don't have anything to...
Players have done that in the past.
I guess that's my question. Have players done that
faked
before?
And flinched and gone, oh, excuse me, Jeff. Oh, never mind, my pockets are empty. We've seen that kind of trollish stuff by, Ferris or George in our Australian Survivor.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you could do that, but the way she... There's only so far you can take that, I guess.
Right.
But the way she did it to actually be able to walk up to Jeff and to present something where she walks up and goes, hang on, Jeff, I've got something to play here. And they don't know if it's an idol or a shot in the dark. She walks all the way up there. The idols are very small, so it's very concealable.
Yeah.
So she can just palm it. Goes up to Jeff and it's a shot in the dark. And, she can read that whole reaction. She has a whole 10, 15 seconds of being able to read them. I guess that's really valuable and clever.
Well, yeah, I think so. Do you think she would have actually played the shot in the dark if she didn't have an idol? Because if she didn't have an idol,
no,
the shot in the dark would have been her one last, shot.
I think if she wasn't playing, if she didn't play a shot in the dark, then she would need every single vote she could get, including her own.
Yeah.
I think this was a move that was not desperate, not a last resort, but as long as she was safe, she was content, I
Yeah.
think. She didn't necessarily need to influence the vote, obviously, because she
Yeah.
lost her vote.
Yeah.
So I think as long as she was safe, she was content to see how this flowed.
Yeah.
But it's a very confident and ballsy move
Yeah,
to give up your vote.
Yeah,
right?
and I think like, you know, she did it because she knew she had an idol. But
Yeah.
if you didn't have an idol, I don't think she would have been able to do that firstly.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And secondly, maybe she might have just done what we said, like maybe just pretend to have something, but then it's like, oh no, I'm going to actually keep it because this is my one last thing. But she has an idol, so okay, well I can throw away the
vote,
the shot in the dark.
Interesting stuff. So yeah, props to Rachel.
Yeah,
and
props to Rachel.
So then we get back to camp and some blowback from the tribal. Sam, who was sitting pretty with his Barbie, is now at the bottom. He's looking lonely.
Yeah,
he's looking so sad and lonely.
He's looking a little bit sad, and I think if I was Sam, I would probably feel
it's so interesting to see
devastated.
such a such a figure that we've seen in such an alpha position, looking so proud and mighty in the tribe, looking so forlorn and crestfallen and fallen
And
in
also,
the tribe.
well, he probably feel
and
bad
humbled.
that he couldn't protect Sierra.
Oh, his
The hero complex
his
as
hero
well,
complex
actually.
got truly played upon. Yeah, and this is kind of humbling for him, right? To be at the bottom.
Yeah.
And now he has to play. I think he does this really well, by the way.
He did. I have to really give him props. I wasn't sure because I wasn't sure if maybe he can get past this whole
hurt.
being hurt.
Yeah.
But he actually did really well. I'm actually very, very impressed. So Sam, you're if you're listening.
Yeah, that's one of the hardest things to do. To get rejected, to get burnt, to get hurt, and to be able to say, "Oh, good move, guys."
Yeah, thank you. For
Thank you for keeping me.
You just showing gratitude.
You killed my island girlfriend, but thank you. Imagine being. It's like being thankful to your hostage holders. It's a tough situation to be in, and it takes a lot of grace. So he's showing a lot of skillful gameplay.
And I think, to be honest, his gameplay will actually be a lot better now that Sierra's out of the picture.
It will.
Because I think this has really shown his kind of arc. He's kind of been at the top. Now he's at the bottom. And that's what we like. We like seeing players who've gone up and down, not just we'll get bored of players who are just constantly at the top or at the bottom. But when they've had an arc, that's when you start to you
open up a lot more complexity to him and his personality. We're gonna see. So far, we've seen the jock side. Now we're gonna see the musical arts theatre side, the sensitive, caring side, right? The glee side of Sam. I think that's gonna come out now because now he's forced to work with Andy, with Sol, with Kai, with all these other players that he wasn't looking at before because he had a number one. Now it's forcing him to look at other people as prospective number ones. Even Andy. And Andy is in damage control, obviously, which is very interesting. Sorry, not sorry seems to be the mood where he's like, I'm sorry, but I needed to do it, which is fair enough. But he needs to do this damage control in order to appease Sam, which is really interesting because they're both sort of I'm sorry and I'm grateful, but really they're not sorry and really I'm not grateful. But they're playing this political game around each other, Sam and Andy.
I know.
Where it's you screwed me, I screwed you, but we're going to be nice about it.
We're going to be nice on the surface and then let's see what happens next and who gets to screw who next.
Speaking of screwing, then we see Andy and Rachel flirting. This reminds me of the last couple left in high school. When everyone is paired off at the dance and there's only two people left. This is Rachel and Andy now looking at each other across the dance floor being oh, yeah, you look okay now. That seems to be the language there because they were we've sort of been circling each other, flirting with each other, but we've never quite connected. Yeah, because you don't like each other or you don't trust each other.
I'm going to counter that though. I don't think, to be honest, I think Andy has actually always wanted to work with Rachel, as we've seen in episode 1. But I think Rachel, the show portrayed the fact, it seems like she felt like he was too much at the time and he was, he was he was quite chaotic, but obviously now that she's in the, at the bottom of the tribe, she obviously needs to be a little bit more humble and be okay, I
more
actually do need to,
for sure.
do need to work with anyone and that's what I guess it speaks to like the brilliance of the game. It's like, you can be at the top, but once you're at the bottom, you realize how you really need to scramble.
Like Andy was on the bottom before, and now
Yeah.
he seems like he's got a lot of people coming to him. We see throughout this episode a lot of people coming to him.
A lot of like, hair flicking.
A lot of hair touching. Gosh, we should do a meme of him touching his hair. He makes me long for long flowing locks. But a lot of ideas and hair flowing is coming towards him. So he's got a lot of energy.
He does.
Coming towards him. Like ideas seem to be, and conversations seems to flow to him.
Yeah.
And Genevieve, they're the two. And Gabe, they're the three conduits, it seems, of information where everything hits them.
Yeah. Okay, before we touch on that, okay, so I guess the big thing about the episode that has just played is, Sol has gotten voted out. So Sol, I think, has been one of our favorite players.
Oh, we haven't gotten to that even. Yeah, I'm going to miss Sol, man.
Yeah.
He was my dark horse quiet pick, one of my favorite players, my Korean brother. I was secretly rooting for him. It's always good to see, representation on the show. I was really rooting for him, so I'm a bit bummed that he's gone. But then again, his gameplay was a little bit, it made me question it at sometimes. We'll get into that.
Well, I think the show didn't really portray him perhaps the best towards the...
It wasn't a great edit for Sol.
It wasn't a great edit. Like, I think they've had really great edits in the past when he was like kind of like battling Rome. He seemed very diplomatic. I think everyone was really cheering him on. We were, definitely. But this one, it made him seem like he's just a bumbling, burping...
Bear. He looked like Winnie the Pooh bumbling around on a carpet at a picnic with bees flying around him. He reminded me of Winnie the Pooh. Like... You can have a good edit, and editors know this. I'm a former editor, okay? Like, you can give a guy slow motion, muscly shots as he's running down the beach, looking at the sunset, looking noble. We saw this in Australian Survivor with Kirby. She got a lot of hero shots, right? She was made to look majestic, like a lioness. This guy, they did him dirty, man. They have him burping on the rug, rolling around, looking for food, fumbling around, scratching his head. I don't know if that's really representative of who he is, but they did him dirty with the edit. Like, he came across bad. So I feel bad for him in this episode.
Yeah, and I think it's a shame because I think I would have really liked him to like maybe reach top 5. I don't think he would have won, but I think I would have liked, just because I think he's such great like Asian representation, I would have liked him to go a little bit further. But like he says, I mean, he is... Well, we'll touch on that later.
We still got 2 more Asians in the game. Not that we're biased. We love everybody. I don't see race. Yeah, I don't see race. But, like, I'm going for everybody in this game. But, look, there's still Rachel and Andy in the game. So, it's okay. There's still a very diverse crowd. So, it's all good. But Sol, he's so likable. I think he's the most likable person on the tribe. He and Kyle are just shucks likable. And
I really like Teeny.
Oh, Teeny's lovable.
Yeah.
Teeny's so adorable.
I'm kind of like gunning for... not gunning, sorry. I'm kind of like...
Going for
Teeny to the end.
Yeah, I love Teeny. I thought Team Teeny. But Sol, his game, we're going to get into it. We'll talk all about it, but we're going to miss him. He was a wonderful character on the show. I think, you know what? He lost the war, but he won the battle. I think he'll look back on this and go, at least I beat Rome. I think he'll lie awake at night and go, at least I beat Rome. And that is good enough for me. Yeah. He beat his arch nemesis. His storyline is complete.
Yeah.
In a way. His movie came to an end. This character, he won his storyline. That's okay. Iron Man doesn't need to live to the end. He won. He beat Thanos. Okay. He beat his Thanos.
Yeah, he did.
Okay. So, and we see, obviously Andy, the new power, the new look, and what else happens? Teeny shows that she's the empath queen.
She is very good, to be honest. I think I've been very impressed because whenever she's blindsided everyone, so in this case, this is she's blindsided Sam and Sierra. Obviously, Sam's not happy. She has gone up to Sam and be like, hey, I am so sorry. She's apologized. She has said, like, empathize by saying that it sucks being blindsided.
Oh, she could get away with murder.
She can get away with murder.
I could catch her going through my things and I'd be like, I get it, Teeny, it's okay, what do you need? Those big sweet eyes of hers can get away with murder, but no, she has a very deft social game that knows how to keep allies, and I think if she gets to the end, she's going to get so many jury votes because she is so likable and popular. She's very likable, and yet not a threat.
Yeah, I don't know if it's not a threat because, to be honest, both of her number ones have been kind of voted off.
True.
So I do think that people see Teeny as a threat. maybe she's just so easy to work with that they still want to work with her, but rather than like picking off Teeny, they're more likely to pick off her number one.
True.
Because I kind of feel like maybe that's why Sol got targeted, because he and Teeny are very tight. He said they're like BFFs on the...
But she didn't really go to the death for them either. She didn't fight all out for, you know, for these players, for Rome, for Sol, for Kishan. She's gotten... Yeah, you're right.
But on Kishan, she was blindsided. She didn't know.
True.
Yeah.
So it seems like people aren't threatened by her because they're willing to take down her number ones and not face the repercussions of her blowback. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
So, like, as if to say, like, look, we can kill Teeny's number ones. Teeny won't come for us afterwards. We can still work with Teeny afterwards.
We can still work with Teeny.
Whereas, look, if we go for Caroline, Sue will be mad. If we go for Sue, Caroline will be mad. And I think they insulate each other in that way socially. People knew that if they went for Sierra, Sam would come for them. But Teeny, not so much. So that's interesting. That Teeny still seems to be a very viable, workable number for everybody.
Yeah, I think so. I think she's very good. And yeah, I mean, it sucks that, you know, her number one has been like voted out, but I think it'll be interesting to see where she goes.
Yeah.
So
so then we get to Sam saying he's all good with the vote, and he's doing some wonderful acting here and all this, but obviously he's not. He's obviously upset, he's hurt, but he's like, yeah, I'm all good. But the interesting thing is that Sol takes it at face value, and Sol doesn't see his body language. And you can see on Sam the body language, and you don't even need to look at his body language, but you'd be able to tell that obviously he's going to be hurt from this whole thing, this whole Sierra, you know, elimination. And yet Sol just seems to see this in 2D. And I think this speaks to the flaw in his gameplay that we'll talk about later on.
Yeah.
In not sensing the body language, the human nature, the human aspect of people's gameplay. So...
Well, maybe it's because I think maybe for Sol, if like, oh, you know, if someone took out his... actually, it's hard to tell.
But like, you know, just because someone says they're okay doesn't mean they're okay. And I thought that was interesting. Because, look, you know, even if Sam is saying he's okay, his words are okay, his body was not. He was like this. He was, yeah, I'm fine with it. Thank you for keeping me. All good. Yeah, thanks God. Like, he was upset.
Yeah, he was upset. But to be honest, I think he did as good as he can. And I think maybe also, like, say, Sol probably is like, well, you know, it's better that he didn't, like, you know, get overtly upset. Like, if he's upset, at least he's quietly upset.
Yeah, true.
Maybe.
He's still workable. But a guy like Sam is always going to come for revenge if you take out his Barbie. That's just human nature.
Okay, so now we go to the challenge. So we find out that there are quite a few things. Firstly, there's going to be a journey for the teams who lost. So it's like a paired up challenge.
Yeah.
You know, so you got like 5 teams of 2. You know, 2 teams will progress to get a shot at immunity. The other 2 or 3, I think the lowest 2 teams will go to journey, where they have to fight for the right to get a vote. We find out that... I don't love that. Yeah.
Anytime you disable players' votes, I find very crippling to the game's social dynamics, and it undermines the nature of the game, the social aspect of the game that we like. We want it to be a game of who can gather the most votes in their way, rather than all these mechanics. And we've spoken about this many times. You take away the agency of a player, you take away that aspect. How can they survive?
Yeah.
You know? And it's the last thing that a player should be able to rely on is their vote. I feel like that should be like, you have to muck up really badly to lose your vote in this game. I feel that should be like the last thing that you can, a real big punishment.
Yeah.
That's the only time you should lose your vote. Otherwise, it should be the last thing that you have as a part of this democracy. Like we've seen at the recent elections, it is the last salvage of freedom and independence on this island. And I like that. And I don't want to see that lost. And so that bugs me, it irks me whenever people lose that power.
Yeah, and I think it also throws a lot of what could have been very organic behavior into... something that's very random, very forced, it's very chaotic. Oftentimes I find like at tribal, you know, when players suddenly say, oh, they don't have a vote or they have a shot in the dark, I find myself just taken aback, even though I know this, but I forget it because it's just not something that comes to mind naturally. I feel, Anyway, you know our views on that. Like, you know, we haven't liked these gimmicks that we feel
Tell us how
have
you
been
guys feel if
very
you disagree.
apparent.
I'd love to hear what people think.
Yeah.
Maybe people find that chaos exciting and like, hey, yeah, throw something different into this game, like unpredictability and a bit of chaos that makes it less, readable. And sometimes it can be like that too with like Survivor, old school style Survivor. When someone's on the bottom, it's inevitable almost because they're on the bottom socially and there's nothing that can save them. But I kind of like that because that's the way the world is, and I don't want to do Deus Ex Machina to save them, as we see in this. But I'd love to hear opposing views on that and have a nice little discussion. So, yeah, challenges not that interesting. I don't really like talking about challenges other than Teeny saying my ass is too big for this challenge for the tunnel. That was cute. Kyle doesn't win.
Yeah, so this, I think this is probably the most interesting thing for me out of the episode was that firstly Kyle didn't win, Gabe got immunity.
It's surprising when he doesn't win.
Yeah, it's surprising. Yeah, he's definitely
won 3.
He's won 3. He's definitely the challenge beast of the season. I don't think anyone comes close to like where he is in terms of like physicality.
I don't know the record, but I know that Aussie Lucas, I can't pronounce him. He won 5 in a row, and I think other legendary Survivor beasts have won 6, maybe 7. I'd like to fill us in, guys. I'll find out later. But he's on track to match that number of 5, which is considered a real peak performance number. If a player can get 5 immunities individual, that's considered a threshold of great Survivor beasts like Boston, Rob, Tony Vlachos, like. He's on track. Anyway, he doesn't win this one. And I'm surprised he doesn't get targeted because of that.
Yes, he doesn't get targeted. Okay, so this is a very interesting thing because I think the first thing when he like loses, I was like, oh, he is gone for sure.
For sure.
But he wasn't. And I don't even think like his name was brought up very often. Like it was certainly brought up. There can be no doubt. But it didn't seem like it was brought up a lot.
And I think that speaks to his alliance with Tuku is still holding strong, right?
Well, even though we know that Sue and Caroline definitely want him out.
Eventually, yeah, but I think they're still happy to work with him, right?
Yeah.
But also it speaks to the threat level. So even though he's a massive threat in terms of challenges, I think he's so flexible, so malleable, so agreeable, so unthreatening as a strategic player that players don't even think of him as a vote. Because as we see later on, he says, as long as I'm not the number, I'm okay to go with whatever. Yeehaw! And he's just a happy guy and very chill. And I think people like working with that, or at least he might be a challenge beast / goat. You know what I mean?
Right.
Where players consider him someone that they can take to the end who won't even see things going, things coming strategy wise.
Well, I guess that makes sense. I think for me, I feel like Gabe protected him. Gabe was actually the one that won the immunity challenge in this. And they went to like the reward together.
They work together in the challenge?
Yeah, so they've been together like as part of like Tuku for quite a while. And I feel like Gabe was the one because he kind of like has the most power in this right now. He's won immunity. Like, a lot of people are going to kind of like work alongside Gabe's agency.
When you have that necklace, you just have the influence, don't you?
You do have the influence. And if Gabe is protecting, like if Gabe wants Kyle out, I'm sure it would have been Kyle. Because Sue would have voted with him. Caroline, well, she has no power. She lost her vote. So I think like Caroline herself also said, okay, even though I want Kyle out, I can't do it this round because I just don't have the power. Yeah. So I think Gabe definitely protected him, and that's why, he's still going through.
Interesting. Because I would have, as we said, I would have considered him public enemy number 1. As soon as he shows himself, bang, I'm taking the shot. But, obviously they feel like they can get him out at a later stage and that he's not a threat to rally troops. And create a lot of influence because he seems like just a movable number. Yeah. So, that's interesting. I think he could ride very far because given that people don't consider him a threat and given that he could keep on winning immunity challenges, he could just go to the very end like this. Just keep on winning challenge after challenge. And when he doesn't win it, he's not considered a threat. So, watch out, Kyle. I think he's for real threat. And so, what happens next? They go to reward, I guess.
They go to reward. I think the plan was to get out Sam, but then they...
Oh, this is when we see the burping
Oh
The
yeah,
burp
the
off.
burping, the burp off.
Okay, maybe this might be a Korean cultural thing where burping is considered a sign of enjoying your meal, and so it's not considered.
I think in Japanese culture or something. Isn't it?
Right? I don't
No,
know.
in Japanese culture, I think they
Is that
slurp the
farting?
noodles. Like they slurp the noodles very loudly, and that's like a sign of enjoyment.
Ugh. I can't get down with it when I eat my noodles, ramen, or pho. I don't love the slurping, but yeah, all these bodily noises I'm not a fan of. But Soul lets it out, and Gabe actually is like, oh man, my little baby burps are nothing next to his big boy burps.
Is it something that like men feel really competitive about?
Not me. I feel like Teeny is just disgusted by mankind at this point on the rug. She's just like, this is horrible.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think the original plan was to get Sam out, but obviously Genevieve throws a spanner into the works.
Yeah.
How do we feel about Genevieve's gameplay at the moment?
Well, that's really interesting is because we cut between Kyle saying, I don't see Genevieve as a thinker, quote unquote, right? And then we cut to Genevieve with Sue and we see what a genius she is. Okay? Genevieve is the, like, Rasputin, the mind behind all this stuff. She's the architect. She is the Bannon behind the Trump, okay? Now it's starting to come into true fruition and highlight how influential and powerful she is. Because she doesn't just pull the strings, she plants ideas and lets these people think it's their own idea, Inception style.
She's very, very good. Yeah, I think the way she pitches ideas
Yeah.
without telling people, but just raising it as a concern. So, like, say with Gabe,
With Gabe.
I think.
Oh, sorry, with Sue.
Yeah. So with
Sue.
Sue, I think it's pointing out that okay, like, Soul is targeting her
Gabe.
ally Gabe.
Yeah, so
you know,
she
which
doesn't
is
go straight to
Sue's-
Gabe.
Yeah.
She goes to Sue.
She goes to Sue.
Knowing that information will get to Gabe, but if it comes via Sue, it'll be a lot more, like...
Organic.
Organic.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is
and
genius.
then after that, going to Gabe and then, like saying, okay, recounting that, oh, this is what happened this morning between Teeny and Soul and Sam was that they are thinking of voting you out and then raising his suspicions.
Yeah.
And then going to Andy.
And then going to Andy and going, the different ways that she approaches different people and pitches different ideas and emotions. So with Gabe, she threatens his safety. With Sue, it's more like
Her ally.
Her ally.
She knows she
and
needs
friendship.
Gabe. Yeah.
With Andy, she pitches drama
Do
and
you wanna-
craziness, excitement. Like, hey, do you want to do something crazy? And Andy's like, yeah. She knows how to read these people and give them what they want to connect with them and like and read them. And like, she's oh man, I was watching it with true admiration. Saying
She is very,
she
very
is
good.
just playing these people masterfully, like Rasputin, the power behind the emperor, and no one even sees it.
And not
coming.
not once was she even flustered. She's always
No.
very calm. Like, even when she realized, like, say, Teeny and Soul had found out that Soul was getting voted out and they're confiding to her, like, she didn't panic, even though
No.
it's her idea. Like, she is really good at this.
And these other players, they go forward thinking that it's their idea. Like, Andy thinks that it's his idea to get out Soul. Gabe thinks it's his plan to get out Soul. Sue as well. They all have the agency of carrying forth this idea as if it's their own, and so they're more determined because they feel like it's their move. Whereas Genevieve, rather than owning it publicly like that was me, she's just content to sit back. She must be a masterful lawyer because she's content to just sit back, let the result flow in, let the jury votes flow, and get the result without necessarily getting the credit.
Yeah.
She is the power behind the power. We're going to get more into her, I'm sure, because this was her episode, I feel.
Yeah, I think she's been very good ever since, like, even through, like, the Rome episodes. Like, she's
able to tolerate Rome.
Yeah,
So,
the way that she talks through things is like, okay, like, I know Rome is a little bit chaotic, but for now I need him. And not being too, I guess, overtly too emotional about things, and just being able to see things quite calmly. I think that's going to be
I
a superpower.
am seeing two polls form around Genevieve and Rachel. I think these two ladies are going to be our final two, and what a final two that would be. That's my personal pick. Maybe I'm jumping ahead.
Okay.
That's my personal pick.
Okay.
Or maybe Teeny. What a final three that would be. I couldn't even split those three.
I kind of see, like, Genevieve, Teeny, because I feel like Genevieve and Rachel, they're kind of a little bit similar,
Yeah,
and I feel like
yeah.
Genevieve will consider Rachel a threat.
Yes, yeah.
I think she actually has expressed that
She has
previously.
expressed that.
And now the fact that Rachel has kind of like betrayed her and actually told Sam about the plan, the
Yeah,
blind
yeah,
side,
yeah.
you know, she's not going to...
So who do you see as your
Like
final
that.
three? Sorry to jump all around, but who do you see as your final three potentially? Because it normally is a final three
yeah,
now.
yeah. I think I would like Genevieve, Teeny, and
Okay.
maybe Andy.
That would be an entertaining final three. I think. Oh, who? Yeah, okay. I think Andy takes
Andy
it.
will be very entertaining.
Andy's going to get a lot of votes, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I know some of you guys probably don't like Andy, but I kind of like, you know, I find him quite hilarious.
I find him
actually.
hilarious. He's pure entertainment.
He's very entertaining.
What do we think of the journey? So I know we didn't like the whole thing of losing your vote, but then we see them go on a boat. They get to an island just to play Jenga. So they took a boat all the way around just to get to this beautiful rock face where they play a game of House of Cards that they could have played where they were standing before. This budget is out of control,
Yeah.
Jeff Probst.
I know,
You just wasted
I know.
$10,000 on a helicopter shot, a boat shot, 3 camera shots, 2 drone shots. I'm sorry, the producer mind in me is ticking through. I'm thinking about the budget of
Well,
this.
they obviously
But-
are like, you know, they're obviously
just-
they're obviously not concerned about the budget. I don't know why
Hell
you
no.
are. So
They just like, let's just go to this island just to play a game of Jenga.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
And then they back on reward. They get back from reward, and Sol just plonks down after his fat meal. This is like me after dinner, and just goes, "Oh, the name's Sam. Oh, gonna take a nap now." Like,
Yeah.
this was not slick.
Yeah, so I think that probably contributed to him getting voted out. Which yeah, shall we like, you know, like maybe just recap the way he's been?
Yeah, exactly. So that was a little bit klutzy. We've seen him in the past not be as artful and deft as I would have liked. For example, when he found out that Genevieve was turning on him from Rome, he just walked straight up to Genevieve and goes, "Oh, you got me good, girl. Oh, you got me good. You know, you like a little bit direct."
Yeah.
And he's the kind of guy that if he's robbing the house, he goes through the front door. Genevieve goes through the window, disables the alarms, you know, sneaks in. You don't even know she's there. Okay, Sol smashes through the front door, grabs the china, runs out through the front door. He's a bit of a bulldozer when it comes to his social game. And I feel like at this point, he needed to be a little bit deft because he just goes, "Oh, it's Sam." And when you just shout out an idea, a name so openly, people turn and think, "Oh, you know, that's a little bit abrupt."
Well, I think it
open.
also renders him a little bit inflexible because, firstly, he's not giving each person a reason
Yes,
for it.
yes,
Like
yes.
some people might not want to vote out Sam.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
you're just pitching without pitching.
Yeah, he's not really. Well, it's not really a pitch. It's just telling.
Exactly. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Well said. Yeah.
And whereas, like, say with Genevieve, you can actually like, you know, there actually has been a reason for her to like, you know, give soul to each and every one. She's
She
actually
gives
said
them
something
agency
very different.
on their own.
Yeah.
And
So I
a
think
reason to own
maybe
it.
with Saul, I think he might have just
I didn't like this.
panicked a little bit because I think we know he can be very diplomatic.
Yeah.
And
I don't know if it's panic or complacency, but he just does not see any of this energy coming towards him. And he's happy to give out this energy of putting out names and just sit back, but when it comes back at him, he's kind of oblivious. And so when Sam goes, "The name, you're going home tonight," he's like, what? He did not see this coming. And I'm like, dude, unless you're Tuku, you are not safe on this island at all. Because they are picking off you Gata, Lavo people like flies. So I'm surprised that he's surprised. I don't know. This has been the season of people being surprised that they got, and it seems obvious.
I think maybe he ate a little bit too many sandwiches and probably just got a little bit, you know, just got a little bit tired, like, you
Yeah,
know,
a little
from
bit
food.
tired.
I think a little bit all the energy is like digesting the food rather than in the brain. So yeah.
Yeah, and so, what happens next is, this is interesting. Okay, so Rachel sits down on the bench with Sam, and this is like a scene out of Inglourious Basterds. You know that scene where they're playing the guess it name, and they've got these cards on their foreheads?
Yeah.
And the really smart Nazi lieutenant is just like, bang, is it a movie? Bang, is it an ape? Oh, it must be King Kong. Bang, 3 guesses. Sam does this. Okay, Inglourious Basterds moment. This was brilliant. Like, Rachel goes, "There's a name. I can't tell you who it is, but it's not you.
Yeah.
But there's a name."
Yeah.
Sam is like, "Well, obviously it's Tuku versus Gato and Lavo. Biggest male threat. Sol." And Rachel's like, uh-huh. Like, this was really good play by Sam. It goes to show how smart he is, how astute he is, how observant he is. I think this was a highlight play on Sam's part. I know it won't get any points in the end.
Yeah.
It won't lead to any jury votes. But just a really good scene. Shows how astute he is.
Yeah. So bringing back to that scene, how do you feel about like Rachel maybe not sticking? Well, I guess not saving Saul. I mean, considering the fact that he did offer her that lifeline, like a couple of episodes ago.
I was surprised. I was a bit surprised, but then I sort of saw it as, look, if she had chosen to align herself with Saul, she would have been dooming herself. And Saul, for all his great qualities, hadn't carved out enough support. So even though he had friendships, he didn't have support. And there's a difference. You know, even though he had friendships, he didn't have alliances. So everybody loved him as a friend. Teeny loves him. Rachel loves him. We love you as a friend, but we're not willing to go to an alliance with you. Maybe because you're not as strategic, you're not as deft, you're not as
maybe flexible
subtle, flexible. All these things. You're not dominant as Kyle in the challenges. You haven't got as much influence as Kyle or Andy, and you're not as strategic and manipulative as and cunning as Andy. Maybe. I'm just assuming all these things based on the edit, obviously. He's a great guy, but I think that's the reason why I think ultimately they couldn't go with him. Because in the long term, he just didn't have the strategy to get far. And we see his blunt approach to Rachel, just like, I saved you, you got to save me. I don't think that's the best way to win over any vote. To say, I helped you, so you got to help me. Like, that's like an exchange-based relationship rather than an emotional relationship. Like, I love you, so you got to love me. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
You know, I think he. Looking back, I think maybe he'll play better the second time and use more deeper, meaningful relationships and connections to and motivate other people to work his way rather than pushing them. You know what I mean? That's why I think ultimately these people didn't work with him. But
I think I think like what you said. I think I agree with what you say. It's a shame. I would have liked to see him go further, but it is what it is. I mean, it's Survivor. There can only be one. We can have our favorite players, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to go to the top.
The way I see Survivor as a tribal at this stage in the game is it's sort of like an organism or an organization, right? A company. And when you're having a company, who can you fire in the company that will least upset the efficiency of the company? Like, okay, so if we fire the CEO because he's not doing anything, that's great for the company. If we fire that guy who's not doing anything, that's not going to hurt it. And so I think it's a little bit like that, where the tribe felt that if we got rid of Saul, it wasn't going to disrupt the harmony of our company too much. And so that's why he got fired. It's a little bit like that analogy, I feel like. Whereas there were some other people in the tribe, like Sue, okay? That was never going to happen. Kyle, that was never going to happen. Genevieve, Sam, maybe. But these other people that if you got rid of, if you tried to aim at them, you were never going to get a shot because it affected too many dominoes relationship-wise in that company to carry that metaphor forward. And I think Saul, ironically, in order to save himself, he needed to go for Sam or Kyle, but more so Sam. When you're the plan, if you're not the plan, you need to think of another plan.
I don't think Sam was in any danger.
Really?
I don't. Because I always feel like, okay, sure, he was part of a power couple, like with Sierra. But once that got neutralized, like, he's at the bottom. He's not a threat. Yeah. I don't think, like, to be honest...
Well, who could have soul-pitched him?
He would actually have been... like a swing vote, and I actually think he would have actually become a lot more valuable. Like, not a powerful position, but a valuable position for people who actually want to vote.
Oh yeah, he's a great player and he's valuable, definitely. Yeah. But I'm just saying, who Saul could have got turned out in his place? Who could he have put in the noose around? Whose neck could he have sacrificed? I think, to be honest,
I think what he did was right. I think in terms of, like, say maybe Sue or Kyle, but it's just that they were just standing very strong at the moment, and the he didn't. I don't know. I didn't.
It was
I
a
guess
tough position.
It's a tough position.
Because that Tuku tribe, we saw their body language. In the tribal, they were standing strong. They looked strong. Everybody else was hustling, busting, scrambling.
Yeah.
They just stood firm like statues,
Yeah, and
right?
I think that's why everyone changed their vote, because I think it was either going to go between, I guess, Sol and Sue. And also, like Sol, he kind of like flip-flopped between Sue and Kyle. He didn't have a definitive... an idea, and it actually changed names a few times, and I think after a while people were probably just quite tired of the chaos and just when there's chaos you just stick to the original plan.
Exactly. When there's chaos and scrambling, people tend to revert to the stable idea that they come up with, the initial idea, right?
And Gabe has actually stood very strong. It's like, no, we're going to go with this. Yes. His troops rallied around him, and everyone just kind of like, okay, well, they're stable. I guess we have to vote with them.
We have to go with them. They're not going to budge. Look how solid they are.
Yeah.
They're not even whispering. Whereas the other 4 members of the other 2 tribes are running around like headless chooks.
Yeah.
Is it this guy? Is it that guy? Do we go this way?
Yeah.
And then they just saw the Tuku tribe standing strong, stoic, firm, not budging. We're good. Yeah. We're good. Gabe was strong in this. He was firm like a general.
He was very strong. He was just
like,
this.
We're good, okay, people. We're going this way.
He has the idol,
no one budge.
He likes that. Okay, well, I mean, Sol, he was a really good player. Sorry to see him go. But,
8-1.
Yeah, I know.
I love you, Sol, in the words of Teeny.
I know. And,
so, how did Sol lose? Let's go over Sol's gameplay. I mean, we have pretty much talked about most of it. His battles with Rome were a highlight.
Yeah.
Once he got to merge, he didn't quite get much going. He didn't quite get the alliances and the friendships he needed to carry through to end game. But to get to this point in the game was very strong, very solid. He was pretty good in challenges. I think he'll be remembered for his epic battles with Rome.
Yeah, and also he made jury Ponderosa, and that's like, that's a huge bucket list.
Yeah, that's
ticked off.
That's like the playoffs.
Yeah,
you made the playoffs. Yeah, you did good.
You did
proud
really
of yourself.
Good. Yeah, it's really good.
The man who sold the world.
Okay,
and he beat Rome.
He did. He beat Rome. Okay, so now, did anyone notice that Sierra actually looked a bit pissed off?
She was fuming.
Yeah.
Man. She was so mad. We've often seen players when they hit jewelry kind of cool down. I've had my sauna, I've had my shower, I've had my food. I'm looking good, I'm feeling good. Yeah. I'm fine with it. These guys are still eating rice. She was still mad.
Who do you think she was mad at?
Ooh, I think... I think she was mad at Andy, but in a way, I think she predicted that Andy would betray her. So not even that mad at Andy. I think she saw it coming. I think she's a little bit mad at Caroline. I don't know.
Oh,
and that group. Because I think she had an alliance with them that she thought was solid.
Right.
So for them to split on her and turn on her, I think she's a little bit upset by it. I saw in one interview where she sort of sensed that she'd lost Andy.
Yeah.
So she wasn't surprised by Andy. It's the knife you don't see that hurts the most, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's either between Carolyn and Genevieve, maybe Teeny. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. I think maybe... Yeah, well, I mean, she did share her reward with Caroline and Gabe instead of with Andy.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I think that's the people that she kind of like wanted to get in with.
Yeah, exactly.
Unfortunately, it didn't happen.
And maybe she needs a bit of company on Jury Villa. Once she gets another person once Sol arrives, she'll be a bit happier.
Chill down a little bit. Yeah,
she can have a buddy to hang out with.
Okay, so what's next for Becca? Like, who do you think is in trouble next?
I think Genevieve is running this. Well, we've seen in the trailer that it seems to be a Sue versus Kyle thing, which is funny because I don't know how Kyle upset anybody. But that would be interesting. I think someone from Tuku has to go next.
Yeah.
I think they are in a far too dominant position. I want to see the tables turned a little bit.
Get leveled a little bit.
I want to see an even playing field. And Tuku is just so dominant right now that I'd love to see them suffer a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Somewhere out of there. Maybe an internal Tuku strife is the way to hit at the heart of this game. If I'm Teeny or Genevieve or Sam or Rachel.
I think it'll probably be... I think one of the three. I think between Sue and Caroline, because now they're kind of like the power couple. I don't know if people have caught on that Sue and Gabe are working. I think they have. Actually, I think they probably have. Yeah. So, well, actually, it might be Sue.
Yeah.
Or like Caroline. It will be one of them.
But Sue,
Unless-
as they said, Sue is very well insulated.
and that's the thing, and that's why she has the most power, I think, right now.
Yeah, she's the mother of dragons.
Yeah, and you kind of like want to break it up so that everyone else is a little
Mother
bit.
of bats.
Yeah, everyone is a little bit on their own.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we gonna wrap it up there?
Yeah, I think this is a wrap up. Well, guys, so thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for
guys.
listening to the show.
That was fun.
Yeah, this is fun. I hope you like the new video format. And yeah, we'll try and do it for you next episode as well. So this is the Recreate Reality podcast by Michael and Teresa. You can find us on Recreate on TikTok and Instagram. That's WRECK.CREATE, where you can watch funny short clips of what we've talked about. If you like what you hear, be sure to like and subscribe to our pod. It really helps us a big deal, and we are extremely grateful for any support you give. So we'll be back shortly with the next episode. Stay tuned and bye.
Thank you guys. Bye bye.